Clarence was a dedicated public servant.
Clarence was wise. Wise in the sense of blending his intellect, his knowledge, and his experience together in a way to find understanding.
I'd say universal friend. He just was a friend to everybody.
In the obituary that appeared in the Richmond Times-Dispatch upon the passing of Clarence Towns, Tammy Smith began by saying, "Coalition builder, negotiator, mediator, translator," and I would add the word mentor. Those are words that symbolize and characterize what Clarence Towns meant to our community.
I first became aware of Clarence Towns when I was a young civil rights lawyer in Richmond. Clarence was a dedicated public servant and local business leader who really worked hard to try to bridge gaps between the white business community in Richmond and African American civic and business leadership. And then the way that I really came to know him as a person and friend was when I was elected to the Richmond City Council in 1994. And Clarence was instrumental in a number of organizations, Richmond Renaissance and others, that brought our leadership together across kind of old lines of race and even geography in the city to try to help us be more unified and advance the cause of the citizens of Richmond.
Clarence's impact on the business sector of Richmond was just amazing. In Richmond Renaissance, not only was he just executive director and a part of that, co-founder of it, but he understood that something was going on that people didn't necessarily want to talk about, but he was pragmatic. He knew that you had an incredible historical and traditional structure of business that many African Americans had not been a part of, but also the political reality that you had an African American majority city council. And he knew that if real progress was going to be made, those two could not work in a division. And so he brought them together with dignity and equality and everybody having a voice at the table.
Clarence worked on lots of projects in Richmond over that time period, particularly the riverfront canal, Project One projects including the Marriott Hotel, the Convention Center, 6th Street Marketplace. He was everywhere. As a business person, he believed that bringing blacks and whites together to work on projects would build trust between people that didn't know each other that well. And so he was like a business person. He was all about getting projects done.
Clarence's career as a businessman was significant. He was one of the leaders in the African American business community, but where I really feel like his impact was most demonstrable was less his own business than it was in bringing the business leadership in the white community and the sort of civic and business leadership in the black community together. Look, it's Richmond. I mean, we've got scar tissue, painful scar tissue of race relations in our city. Not as obvious as other places, but the long legacy of Virginia as sort of the architect of all the laws dealing with slavery, of Jim Crow, of massive resistance, left deep chasms of suspicion between our white and black leadership. And his biggest impact was as a bridge builder to try to bring us together. And he did that effectively so that the Richmond of today is very, very different than the Richmond of 1984 when I first moved to the city.
Mr. Towns had dramatic effect on the Board of Visitors and through them on Virginia Commonwealth University. Beginning of 1990 was a rocky time for VCU. The plan was for Virginia Commonwealth University to expand to the downtown expressway and take that part of Oregon Hill, and Oregon Hill opposed it dramatically and in the end, I believe, correctly. And Clarence was key in helping me in my efforts to get past that, to say that VCU was in fact a good neighbor, to set up policies to prove that and to work with the community. He then went off the Board of Visitors, I believe in about 1998, and immediately went on to the Real Estate Foundation. And that was a second major impact for Clarence Towns upon Virginia Commonwealth University. He was the most consistent part of that real estate foundation in its first 10 years. And VCU used the real estate foundation to acquire properties, to begin to flesh out the Monroe Park campus, as it is now called. And then, of course, there was the research park, which was a favorite project of Clarence Towns. So both as a member of the Board of Visitors and as a member of the Real Estate Foundation, he just had dramatic impact on Virginia Commonwealth University and its public presence.
Clarence made a tremendous contribution to Virginia Commonwealth University. He worked hand in hand with the president, helped him understand the sensitivities of communities. He understood that the university would have to be sensitive to that, as well as the growing interest in African Americans having economic opportunities. But not only was Clarence concerned with the brick and mortar, but students. That was very paramount to him, that a university had to be a real opportunity, graduating students and all of their students at high levels and percentages so that they could go out and reach the goals and make the contribution that he knew that every student could possess and understand. My relationship with Clarence was one of mentor and mentee, meaning that he had so much enthusiasm and good judgment, and he took me under his wing, and he taught me a lot about human nature and about what's really important about bringing business and community and the public good. As Virgil said, that the highest honor is the public good. And Clarence met that standard, and he passed it on to me and many others.
I do not use this word frequently, but Clarence Towns was a mentor to me. He helped me understand Richmond, the community, its history, its possibilities, and therefore made me a more effective president of Virginia Commonwealth University.
Clarence's legacy is just bringing people together, you know, the power of dialogue, the power of listening, the power of staying at the table together. He had a very winning way with people and used humor often to diffuse tough situations. Clarence would get people around the table, and by being at the table together, talking through the issues of the day or long-term planning, you can make a lot of headway.
He just was a friend to everybody, no matter your station in life, whether you were a corporate CEO or university president or the server at the Jefferson or a school teacher. He built friendships. And those friendships are how I think he was able to build trust in the community across so many different lines.
My husband was blessed to travel extensively in the United States and abroad for his various jobs and board appointments. Clarence loved to go to other cities to see how they were growing and revitalizing. However, he was always happy to come back to paradise. That's what he called Richmond, paradise.
Clarence Towns loved Richmond. Richmond was his paradise.
Richmond was Clarence's paradise.
Richmond was his paradise.
Richmond was Clarence's paradise. He believed that intently and shared that and made many more people feel the possibilities of Richmond being a paradise for everybody.
He would always ask young people just coming to Richmond, what brought you to paradise? Was it love?